Toronto Blue Jays general manager Ross Atkins spoke to the media recently, and he kind of got his point across that a move needs to be made pretty urgently, whether it be hitting, whether it be pitching. We're not exactly sure, but we want to explore some trade rumors that have been swirling around Twitter. So we'll focus on these three mock trades and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, the Blue Jays won 2 out of 3 yesterday. They beat the San Francisco Giants. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting his power stroke back. Very nice to see. Hopefully that could keep going, and hopefully he can start to carry this offense because they have been pretty quiet as of late. But great game yesterday, Nick. But we're going to focus on some trade rumors in today's video.
Yeah, I had a video yesterday talking about basically what Ross Atkins said to the media, and it seems like a move is coming, especially for a fifth starting pitcher, which we'll touch on, but we also have a couple other things, and the rumors are definitely heating up, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500, and let's just get into a couple of tweets that we saw, as well as something that was posted on, it was on MLB TV, but we'll start with Josh Goldberg, and there's a couple, rumors swirling around. So the first one is still hoping there's a day that Jock Peterson puts on a Jays uniform, one of the great characters and still a really good player. And the reason he obviously mentioned this is because the Blue Jays played against the Giants yesterday, and Jock Peterson is, of course, kind of a name the Blue Jays have been linked to for a while. And as well, I forget the guy's name, but it was on MLB TV. Corbin Burnes was a name that was brought up a few times throughout the show, whether that's a rumor, a report, we're not sure. More so a rumor right now. But Peter, there's a lot of trades that we have to get into here, and let's just get into the first one. And this one is one that you made up, and let's just jump right into Corbin Burnes, because this is a name that we've talked about in the offseason. We talked about it a couple times to start the season, and it's a name that keeps coming up. It's on Twitter, and an MLB analyst, spoke about it on MLB TV, saying that the Blue Jays could definitely pursue him if he becomes available with a fairly struggling Milwaukee Brewers squad. And Corbin Burnes is not having the best season himself either. What are your thoughts on this trade? You made it up, and if you think the Blue Jays could go ahead and target Corbin Burnes.
Well, I would do this in a heartbeat if the Brewers would be open to it. Now, I know it's a lot to give up. It's Ricky Tiedemann, Sam Roberts, and Addison Barger. But if I'm the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm looking at the NL Central, and I have the Cincinnati Reds breathing down my neck for that division title. And I look at their prospect pool. I look at how young and how exciting that they are. That division is going to be theirs for a long time. As soon as next year, it might even be this year that the Cincinnati Reds break through and sneak into the playoffs. So if I'm the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm looking to sell off all of those high-end assets that I have. And Corbin Burnes, no more high-end asset than him on the Milwaukee Brewers. You could include Brandon Woodruff into the mix as well, probably Willie Adames. But Corbin Burnes has a year and a half left of control on his deal. Hopefully, the team that does get him can work out an extension there. But he's one of the premier pitchers in the game. I don't really care about his struggles. He's legit. He's got great stuff, and he would help out any team. Now, this is more of a swing for the fences type of deal for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't think it's necessarily realistic, and I think there are teams that can offer better packages out there, but it's definitely fun to think about. Although I just don't know if it's the right move for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be giving up our best prospect by far in Ricky Tiedemann, and we don't have a very, deep prospect pool to start with. So it'd be interesting. However, like you said, Corbin Burnes, amazing pitcher, Cy Young guy, someone who's been elite his entire career. Always usually a sub-3 ERA. This year, of course, he has the low 4 ERA after his most recent start. But there's a lot of pitchers like that. We can name a few: Alek Manoah, Sandy Alcantara, tons of people like that. So who knows? We'll move on now and move on to the next trade here. But Corbin Burnes is a guy, like you mentioned very quickly, is that probably not the most realistic option, but it is one that's fun to think about and would definitely put the Jays in a win now even more than they already are. And if they make this trade, I'm here for it just because of the fun that it would provide. However, it would absolutely milk the farm system that's already fairly low in giving up arguably our best, position prospect in Addison Barger. You can make arguments for Relvis Martinez and Emmanuel Bonilla there for outfield, but Ricky Tiedemann is by far the best, and he's one of the best prospects in baseball. But that's what it's going to take to get Corbin Burnes. But let's move on now quickly to this one here, which is James Paxton. This is a more realistic one that, again, it feels like the Jays have been linked to James Paxton for the past however many years. Canadian. Santiago Espinal, Adam Macko for James Paxton. Peter, thoughts on this one? I like this one. Adam Macko's kind of starting to rise up through the rankings a little bit. He has a lot of promise, but what are your thoughts on this?
He does have a lot of promise, but you got to give up something to get something back in return. And James Paxton has been a revelation this year. I'm not sure if he's 36 or 37, so he's getting up there in age, but He's throwing harder than he ever has in his career. He's up to 97, 98 miles an hour. He's striking out, I believe, like 10 or 11 guys per 9 innings. So the strikeout stuff is there. He's not giving up many hits. The walks have always been sort of an issue for James Paxton, but if they can get him, this is a great stopgap until Alek Manoah is ready to make an impact, and it gives him more time to regain his stuff back in the minor leagues as well. So I wouldn't mind giving up Santiago Espinal and a pretty high-end prospect in Adam Macko to get this deal done because it helps the Jays in their title contention, which they want to work towards this year. And Espinal has kind of been lost in the shuffle, especially with Kevin Biggio playing much better as of late.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I like it. And I guess a lot of this has to do with how Ross Atkins thinks that Hyun-Jin Ryu is going to do coming back. Because if he thinks that he can produce to a level of James Paxton, which is not going to happen, is very unlikely that it happens, and maybe they don't want to give up prospects. But something needs to happen quickly, and I suspect that maybe the team with James Paxton might hold out till the trade deadline. But Santiago Espinal is a guy who's going to be keep floated around in these conversations because, like you said, Kevin Biggio is getting more playing time than him now. Because against right-handed pitchers, you'd rather have Kevin Biggio out there, and then against left-handed pitchers, you'd rather have Whit Merrifield out there than Santiago Espinal. He obviously made a great play in yesterday's game, but he's just kind of lost in the shuffle. I'm sure there's a team out there that would give him, almost everyday playing times to see if he can get back what he had in last year, even when he was an All-Star. But any final thoughts on that one before we move on to the third one?
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are one of those teams that would
Yep.
be able to give him everyday playing time. They don't have a guy at second base that's really went ahead and taken that job. And they got Trevor Story coming back soon from the injured list. He's going to be their shortstop, maybe even DH a little bit. So Espinal would get some everyday at bats, and he was originally brought up by the Boston Red Sox, so it'd be kind of a coming home moment for him, and I'd be open to the trade.
Yeah, and also Red Sox defense is not very good. They have a few guys who are below average. So that would definitely help them with Santiago Espinal. But let's move on to the final quick trade we got here, and it's Jock Peterson for Kasevich and Thornton. Now, this one is interesting. Will it take more to get Jock Peterson than this? It's possible. It depends how the market shapes out. And Jock Peterson is a guy who I think will probably, if he gets traded, it'll definitely be a deadline day deal or one very, very close to the deadline because obviously the Giants will want to hold on for that. But what are your thoughts on this one? We need another outfielder who mashes. And, Jock Peterson is a lefty, which is probably not the most ideal thing, but I would love to see him in a Jays uniform.
Yeah, I just don't know if the Giants are going to sell or not
And
because
that's
they've been a lot better than expected. So that's another asterisk that we got to put next to this trade. But the way that the offense has been rolling, or I should say, not rolling for the Toronto Blue Jays, they need another bat. Now, whether it's a lefty, whether it's a righty, whether it's a switch hitter, I don't care. We need some thump in that lineup because it has been totally sapped. Now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is starting to turn the corner, and when he is hot, he is someone that can carry an offense in its entirety. And if they don't make any additions to that offense, then he's going to have to go ahead and do that if they want to accomplish anything. Now, as great as Bo Bichette is as a hitter, he doesn't have the power potential that Vladdy does. He doesn't get on base nearly as much as Vladdy does in order to have that same impact in the lineup and kind of carry them. So I'm looking at Vladdy here. I hope he continues going. And when I look at the three spot in the lineup for the Jays, Nick, I don't know. I've loved what Brandon Belt has done this year, but I don't think he's a three hitter. Not on a championship contending team, that is.
Yeah, at least not right now. And I'd like to see them go for an outfielder, maybe preferably a right-handed hitter. That's not a huge deal. Tommy Pham is a guy who maybe will be floating around in the future. Someone to where, especially with Kevin Kiermaier's injuries, you can keep Whit Merrifield at second base in the infield while also having a threat in the outfield on days whether Kevin Kiermaier's off or whatever's happening with that. But one final quick thing I just want to throw ahead here as a teaser if you made it this far is that he also tweeted this: financials will be tough, but the Jays, Justin Verlander have mutual interest. Could that emerge as a possibility? We didn't do a mock trade for this because it's probably unrealistic, and I don't even know if we have the assets to get a Justin Verlander right now. It would take, similar to Corbin Burns for sure. So I don't know. Any quick, maybe a bit less, but any quick final
No.
thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, wait, I think it would take way less to
Yeah.
get Justin Verlander, but also Steve Cohen is the type of owner to just say, I'm going to eat the money. I'm going to make these players suffer through all this terrible play. So I don't think the Mets are going to be selling. They're just going to eat the money. I don't think Steve Cohen is in the business of trying to save a penny. So, man, I just who could have saw this coming for the New York Mets? But hey, it doesn't affect us. We're a Blue Jays channel here.
Yeah, I still think it would take Tiedemann, probably a bit less, obviously, because Corbin Burns has been better and has more
I don't know.
control. But it depends what the market is. The market's very, very slim this year, so maybe that would help them. But again, it's probably not going to happen. The Mets aren't going to sell with Steve Cohen, but they're having a disastrous season. But that'll wrap it up. Hopefully the Blue Jays can start their series against the Red Sox strong, because they do hold a playoff spot by half a game. So that'll wrap up the video. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks.